Bangladesh and Burma are two countries with very different ethnic backgrounds. They border each other, increasing the clash of these very different populations. Violence between Muslims and Buddhists in Bangladesh stemmed from a photo on Facebook. The photo was of a burning Quran, tagged on the page of a Buddhist boy. As the media states, angry Muslims responded by torching Buddhist shrines, homes, and temples. Muslims responded to the photo violently and emotionally because the Quran is a very sacred part of their religion. Buddhist temples suffered major damage due to these angry Muslims who lashed out in response to this Facebook picture to defend their religion. The pictures the media has presented, along with this story, have depicted the Buddhist minority population in Bangladesh as the victims. However, the photos chosen by the media to provide a visual scope of the problem at hand are intended to evoke emotions such as violence and anger. Perhaps instigation of the Muslims by various other communities has in fact triggered their violence throughout the years. Very rarely in research can one find an interview with a Muslim or even a quote from an interview with a Muslim. This becomes interesting because in Bangladesh, Buddhists are only about 1% of the population, whereas Muslims make up 90% of the population. Muslims have torched Buddhist temples and stolen their precious artifacts in response to this Facebook picture. But is it fair to blame all of this violence on the Facebook picture alone? The media has written large news stories about the photo of the Quran because it has come so recently after the Muslims' reaction to the movie, The Innocence of Muslims, made in the United States about the Prophet Muhammad. The media uses pictures, quotes from Buddhists, and videos to give the Muslims a violent reputation. Moreover, before the violence started in Bangladesh, it had been referred to as relatively peaceful Bangladesh, which, in turn, should reject the violent stigma Muslims inherit.
In Burma, Rakhine Buddhists and Rohingya Muslims have broken out in the greatest violent outbreak in a long while. Buddhists are peaceful and harmless, right? That's what the media usually tells us in news articles, stories, pictures, and videos found all over the World Wide Web. But Buddhists may be instigating the conflict. Monks are shown supporting the exile of Muslims from Burma. The Dalai Lama, a Tibetan Buddhist, is known as one of the most peaceful figures on earth. But are Buddhists really living up to their own reputation? The violence in Burma between Muslims and Buddhists is said to have started due to a violent raping and murder of a Buddhist girl blamed on Muslim men. The ongoing conflict between Buddhists and Muslims in Bangladesh and Burma has led to several contradictory stories from the media pertaining to both the majority and minority in Bangladesh and Burma. While the Bangladesh region has a minority of Buddhists and a majority of Muslims, Burma has a minority of Muslims and a majority of Buddhists. While Buddhists are portrayed in Burma as illegal Bengali immigrants and terrorists, could this so-called peaceful Buddhist persona be corrupted by violent Buddhist motivations which instigate further Muslim violence? The Muslim violence and Islamophobia so frequently portrayed in a vast majority of media can be questioned by the ongoing violence against the Muslim minority happening in Burma. According to various news reports, although Muslims make up the minority in Burma, more Muslims than Buddhists are being oppressed by the latter. They are being beaten, raped, and murdered. Muslims are forced to pack up what is left of their belongings because their homes are being ransacked and burned to the ground. Many Muslims seek ways to avoid the violence instead of take part in it. Several Buddhists have been reported making slingshots and sharpened bamboo weapons to harm Muslims. Authorities have done little to help these so-called Bengali illegal immigrants. Although they think they are terrorists, many Muslims are shown protesting the violence in nonviolent ways. These violent Muslims are being forced to flee their homes and seek sanctuary in refugee camps with highly unsuitable living conditions. Although Muslims are taking part in this violence as well, these pictures are meant to evoke compassion for the Muslim community during this time of struggle, and to further question the reputation of peaceful Buddhists. Is the media correct to portray Muslims as violent and Buddhists as peaceful? The pictures displayed in recent news stories about this Muslim Buddhist conflict say otherwise.